Hey guys, this is going to be my full in-depth review on the Mobius action camera used as a dash camera. So I posted my unboxing and first impressions about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I've been using this camera for a little over a month. So far, I've thought it was a great camera and it comes highly recommended, but it's not perfect either. So I'm going to go over all the pros and cons about this camera and all the different features. In case you haven't watched my unboxing or first impressions video, I'm going to quickly go over what can come with your bundle if you buy the Mobius action camera in the US, and also all of the functions of the camera and how to use it. So I got the Ultimate Edition bundle from Amazon, and this bundle includes the most accessories. There is also a dash cam bundle, which probably is a little more useful for some people, since this has a lot of stuff that people aren't even going to use, but it does include everything that a dash cam bundle will have. So it's a little misleading at first, because like these 3 different cords, when you get it, they'll actually be connected when you get them. I'll demonstrate how this is used later in the video. So to power this camera, you're going to get something like this to plug into your car. It's just a USB adapter. This isn't actually the one that came with mine, but this is the one that's pictured on the box. So it outputs 5 volts, 1 amp. I don't have all the cords with me now because I've been using this for a while and they're all over the place. So if you get the Dashcam bundle or the Ultimate Edition bundle, you will get a shorter USB cable as pictured right there. And that's just to connect it to your PC to transfer files or power it or whatever you need to do, change settings. But you're also going to have a longer dashcam cable. It's long enough to wrap around your rooftop or under your seats, so that way you can install the camera and actually hide the cord. That way it's not all visible. If you get the dashcam bundle, you're likely going to have this suction cup mount. I personally don't like suction cup mounts, but they are handy in case you're switching cars. But what I ended up using is this bar mount. The dashcam bundle on Amazon won't come with this, but you can get one for pretty cheap. You just got to make sure it has this 1/4-inch standard camera mount screw. I mounted this behind my rear view mirror, and I'll show you later in the video how that's installed. If the bar mount is an option and you don't want to use a suction cup mount, you can also use something like this. Now, depending on what kind of 3M sticky pad this is or adhesive, they can be very, very hard to remove. It can help if you use some string or dental floss to saw between it, but when I removed mine from a rear window, it was very, very hard to get off. But these are very good for having a permanent mount. My bundle also came with a little tripod mount and a helmet mount. So this could be useful if you're a cyclist or motorcycler, but I don't use this, and this, is pretty cheap, but if you wanted to set it up on your tabletop, it could come in handy. The dashcam mount or dashcam bundle isn't going to come with those two. So it comes with a little baggie full of a couple little things. I believe this is to adjust the lens. This is to take the camera apart, which I have done. I'll link above how I took it apart and swapped the battery with a capacitor. All of the Mobius cameras come with a battery, but you can actually swap it out. So this is the original battery with a capacitor. Ideally in a car, you want to have a capacitor because, especially in high heat, the battery can overheat and damage the camera. It's happened to one of my cameras before, so it's not something that is just a myth. But also in this little bag is a lens cap cover. 3 came with mine. Little bubble mount, Velcro, and some lens cloth cleaners. And then one other thing that came with mine was an OTG cable. This allows you to connect your camera to a phone like a Samsung Galaxy Note or Galaxy S, whatever model you have, and they can actually change the settings or just in general act as a host for the camera. I don't have a phone that has that, so I can't even use this. Also included with your camera is going to be at least one of these. It's just the cradle for the camera, and this is the screw mount, which is removable. If you don't want to use that screw, you can stick Velcro on there or something instead. But it slides on like that, and little latches on the bottom hold it in. So this is a lot stronger than I thought it was going to be, but in an accident it could still fly out. So if you are worried about being rear-ended and the camera flying out and getting damaged, you might want to wrap it with something. So I'm going to show around the camera real quick. There's 3 buttons on the top. There's a shutter button, the mode button, and power button. Since I have the capacitor installed in here, if I turn it on, it's only going to stay on for a couple seconds. On the front we got a microphone hole, and then on the back the micro SD slot, a standard mini USB. That hole right there is a LED light. So in addition to an LED light on the top, there is one in the back, so that way if you have it installed in your car, you can see the light blinking from behind it. I thought that was very helpful. And that is a little reset button right there, or hole. So I'm going to plug it in, and you'll see that it actually turns on immediately and starts recording. So as you can see, it started recording, and if you want to switch modes, you have to pause it with the shutter button. That switches to mode 2, photo mode, and then back to mode 1. So what's really cool about this camera is if you download the formatting software, you can actually change the settings in each mode. I personally switched mode 2 to also be 1080p 30, where the default is 720p 30. The reason I switched mode 2 to 1080p 30 is because mode 1 I have by default to record while upside down, because that's how I have my camera mounted in my car. But in case of bad weather, my Honda Civic doesn't have a very good view by the rear view mirror because the windshield wipers don't go all the way up. So I have a second mount on my dashboard, and if I really needed to in bad weather, such as a blizzard, I can mount this on the dashboard right side up and switch it to mode 2, and then I'll still get 1080p. So this is just a quick example of how this video out cable works. Basically, you plug it in just like you would the power cord, and then you have the video out, which is yellow, and the power out. So you do have to have some sort of USB cable to power it, and that would be audio, but my little monitor doesn't have video anyways, or excuse me, doesn't have audio anyways. So this LCD isn't the best, but as you can see, the quality isn't the greatest, but it can be very helpful just to set up your camera and make sure you get the correct angle. So I wanted to show you how you hook it up and how it looks. So I'm going to quickly show this software that you can use to customize your settings. There at the top you see the camera when it's plugged in. So then you got the sync date and time, lens type, which is standard or wide. I obviously have the wide. Artificial light frequency, recording indicator for the LED, USB port charging, time and date, power on default, power on delay, power on auto record, power off standby, and the power off disconnect. So if you have the super capacitor, you want that to be immediate, otherwise it's going to show a corrupted file at the end. The miscellaneous settings just have some stuff related to the motion detection and the TV video out. I'll actually demonstrate how well the motion detection works later in this video. In the video mode 1 or 2 tab, this lets you change all the video settings for your recording. This is really important because this lets you change the resolution, the frame rate, whether or not the picture is flipped 180 degrees or not. And this lets you customize them to your own liking. This is how I was able to have mode 2 record 1080p 30 just like mode 1, but it's not flipped. That way I can put it on my standard dashboard mount if I don't want it up in my rear view mirror. There's also the photo mode and the advanced settings tab. I didn't really mess with these very much because they weren't of much use for me, but I'll let you pause the video if you want to read what any of these say. So this is my Mobius mounted on my rear view mirror. As you can see, I have that bar mount like I mentioned before. I have this 90-degree angle adapter, which is pretty nice so it doesn't get hit by the mirror. But what sucks is it does have a full-size USB. I wasn't able to find one with a mini USB. I was planning on splicing those together, but I just wasn't able to find the time to do that. So here you can see where it goes up through the roof. And down here is the mount I have on my dashboard like I mentioned previously. So if I have bad weather, such as snow, I can throw the camera down there and it's going to be able to get a much clearer view. As you can see right there, the windshield wipers doesn't go all the way up and my Blackvue doesn't get a very good picture. You can see the line of dirt where it will be blocked in bad weather. Even the Mobius captures quite a bit of that, so that's why I put that dashboard mount on the bottom. So I do have a spare USB cord, so I don't have to rip the other one out of the roof. And that way, if I ever really need to, such as during a blizzard, I'll still be able to get good footage, even though it is a lower point of view. So now I'm going to show some test footage. I want to show the differences in the different video quality. This is the high quality, and it's 17,686 kilobits per second. As you can see, there's pretty good detail in the leaves, and you can try to make out the license plate on this car that I passed twice, but the lighting is pretty harsh. So halfway down this road I'm going to switch, and this is going to be standard quality. So the standard quality is 14,735 kilobits per second. And it's actually really hard to tell the difference. A lot of it ends up being because of the lighting, so it might not even be worth it for some people to use the high quality because it uses quite a bit more data. And then the last one is the low quality. So this is only 11,791 kilobits per second, so just under 12 megabits per second. In all three clips, the video quality actually looks pretty similar. A lot of it has to do with the fact that it's all going to be 1080p anyways. So this footage right here is actually the Blackvue DR650GW 2-channel camera. The reason I'm showing this is in my unboxing and first impressions, I complained that I couldn't pause the video and read any of the license plates here because it was too blurry. Although I did have that issue, I do think the quality of the color in this footage is pretty good. This is with the brightness actually turned down a little bit also. I also recorded with my Mobius though, so I'm going to show the comparison of what the Mobius looked like. So here is the Mobius footage, and you can see it's a lot darker. The color is not as good, but this is the default settings. So you can tweak these in the advanced settings, which I mentioned before I didn't, so with this clip it shows that maybe I should. But the main important issue is here when I pause the video in the raw footage, I still can't read the license plates even though I'm really close. So that tells me that most of the video quality issues often has to do with the lighting. I feel like this camera doesn't do very well in poor lighting, and that's likely because of the fact that it uses a cheaper image sensor where the Blackvue uses a Sony CMOS sensor. So even though this is about 18,000 kilobits per second and the Blackvue is only about 8,000 kilobits per second, in the end you still can't even read the license plates with the Mobius in the high bit rate. So I think in conclusion I really have to lower my expectations on most cameras until we start getting 2K and 4K cameras. So here's some nighttime footage. As I mentioned before, I didn't think that the night footage was very good. It's not bad if there's a lot of lighting, but in areas like this where there's street lights only every so 100 yards, it can be very dark and very hard to see anything, even when there's other cars nearby you. It seems to really depend on external lights such as street lights to light up the cars around you. Otherwise, you're just going to get dark spots like what it looks like right now. My headlights are on just fine, and they are clean, so it's a little disappointing to see how dark it can be sometimes. In a decently well-lit parking lot, though, it'll get pretty good footage, as you can see in this short clip. You're not going to be able to see any better than your own eyes can see in the dark, but it looks decent here. So here I'm going to show some footage of the motion detection in action. The problem is, I couldn't actually even get it to detect me when I walked in front of my car. I set the motion detection on and walked into my garage, pretended to steal a tackle box and walk out, and nothing. So I tried again. I walked in front of my car, stood at the front of the hood, waved in front of the car, nothing happened. So I tried just waving my hand in front of the camera, and finally it detected my hand waving in front of it, but I was literally inches in front of the camera with my hand. And the issue with that, though, is it didn't pick up my hand. I'm actually looping this clip over, and this is the second loop, but this is the footage that it picked up from me waving my hand in front of it, and nothing was shown on camera. So I again tried walking right in front of my car, standing directly in front of my car, waving my hands around, up high and down low, and it just wouldn't set off the motion detector. And this is on high sensitivity also. I don't know if this is because of the glass windshield, but overall, if this is normal, I wouldn't use this motion detection mode at all. Overall, I think there are a lot of positives to this camera. I really love the small, discreet design, and I prefer to have no screen, unlike the G1W. It's very cheap. You can get for under $100 with a basic bundle, and it's very easy to take apart to swap in the Super Capacitor, which is recommended. The bitrate is really high for such a cheap camera, but like I showed in the clips, whether or not you think the higher bitrate is even worth using is up to you. This camera seems to have way better support for micro SD cards. I had a lot of issues with SanDisk cards in my G1W, and I also had a lot of issues with SanDisk in my Blackvue 650 model. So this one I haven't had any issues at all. What was also nice is I can use this using my USB adapter that my G1W didn't work with. Whenever I disconnected the power to the G1W while it was hooked up to the USB adapter that I have, it corrupted that last file. But the Mobius was still getting enough power from it, which I like. After using this camera for over a month, it's never actually failed on me once. It's always been recording. It's never randomly gone into standby, and it's probably the most reliable camera I've used. So the camera isn't perfect though. To some people, having no screen could be a bad thing. Having no screen means you're going to have to modify your settings on a PC or on a tablet or your phone. The issue with the Android app for me though is majority of the time it didn't work. Whenever I tried to change the settings and save them to the camera, it would give me an error message. So I gave up on the Android app altogether. If you're going to use the high bitrate settings, it's not going to give you very many hours of footage. On my 32GB card, when it was full, it got 3 hours and 46 minutes of footage. That's pretty low. So if you're going to be using this, in high bit rate. You're going to want to make sure to save any important footage right away when you can. The beeping noise in all the video clips is quite annoying, but in the end that doesn't really matter. My biggest issue is there's no convenient to use parking mode. If I was to hardwire this to my PowerMagic Pro, it would just keep recording non-stop. The motion detection doesn't seem to work good enough, and either way you have to switch that in the settings manually. So it seems to only, for me, be convenient to use as a camera while I'm driving. And also the poor night quality is likely due to the cheap image sensor. But overall, I still highly recommend this camera. It's very cheap and very high quality and seems to have very good reliability. So if you're looking at this camera and really want a discreet, easy to use, set and forget device, I'd say go out and buy it. Please remember to hit like and subscribe if you like my videos, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.